Hey guys, today we're going to talk about factoring polynomials by using the greatest common factor. Okay, so first let's do a warm-up. This is some of the things that we've been going over the last week about distribution and multiplying times or multiplying a monomial times a binomial or polynomial. Okay, so the first one here, we just want to distribute the a into the parentheses here. And so we have a times 3a becomes 3a squared, and a times 7 becomes 7a. So we have 3a squared plus 7a. Okay, the next one we do the same thing. So we want to distribute the negative 2m into the parentheses. So negative 2m times m squared becomes negative 2m to the power of 3. Negative 2m times 6m becomes negative 12m squared. Negative 2m times negative 1 becomes a positive 2m. Okay, and then on this last one right here, same thing, still distribute. 4x cubed y times x squared becomes 4x to the 5th y, because you just combine the x cubed and x squared together. And then 4x cubed y times negative 2y. Well, 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. There's not any x's, so bring the x cubed over. And then y and y becomes y squared. Okay, so that's a quick review over what we've already learned. Okay, the new thing here, it says, what is factoring? Well, factoring is separating a polynomial back into a product. So we're doing the opposite of what we did here, of what we learned here about multiplying. Okay, so the simplest form, 4a squared plus 8a, okay, this is in simplest form. Now we're gonna do factored form. Well, factored form, what can you take out of both the 4 and the 8? What's the largest number you can take out of both of those? You can take a 4 out. Okay, you also can take an a out of both of these terms. You always want to look for the variable that has the smallest exponent. Okay, you want to look to see, does each term have the same variable, and then look for the one that has the smallest exponent, which is a. So we're going to factor a 4a out of both of these. Okay, well, 4a squared divided by 4a, it just leaves you with a. Okay, or you want to think, what can you multiply times this to get that? Well, you multiply 4a times a to get 4a squared. Okay, same thing for 8a. What do you multiply times 4a to get 8a? You multiply it times 2. So this is the factored form. Polynomials that cannot be factored are called prime. Okay, factoring a greatest common factor. There are several factoring methods. The approach depends on the polynomial. We will start by identifying and factoring out the greatest common factor of the polynomial. First step, identify the greatest common factor of the polynomial. Check the coefficients for a greatest common factor. Okay, so check your numbers here to see what is the greatest number you can take out. Then look at the variables. A variable must be present in all terms to be a greatest common factor. So it has to have the same variable throughout each term. If a variable is present in all terms, take the one with the smallest exponent. Step 2, divide each term by the greatest common factor and leave the remaining factors in parentheses. And then the last step, check your work by distributing. Okay, so on this example right here, what's the largest number you can take out of both 3 and 12? You can take a 3 out of both. Okay, because there's not a variable in both of these, we cannot take an x out. We can only take a 3 out of both terms. That's it. Okay, so 3x divided by 3 is x. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Okay, so then if you were to check your work here by distributing, 3 times x is 3x, 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, so that's the factored form. Number 2, what number can you take out of both of those? We can take a 7 out of both. Okay, we don't have a y in both, so you can't take out a y. 7y divided by 7 is y. Negative 7 divided by 7, negative 1. Check yourself by distributing. 7 times y is 7y. 7 times -1 is -7. Number 3, what can we take out of both 8 and 36? We can take a 4 out of both of those. Okay, there's not an m in both, and there's not an n in both, so we can't take out a variable. 8m divided by 4 is 2m. 36n divided by 4, 9n. Check by distributing. 4 times 2m is 8m. 4 times 9n is 36n. Number 4, we can take a 5 out of both of those, and that's it. 5x divided by 5 is x. 30y divided by 5, 6y. Okay, flip over to the back. What can you take out of both 6 and 27? You can take a 3 out. 6a squared divided by 3, 2a squared. 27 divided by 3, 9. Okay. Number 6. What can you take out of 4 and 24? You can take a 4 out of both of those. Okay. Now look though, this one, they both have a y. So since they both have a y, you want to take the one that has the smallest exponent, which is just a y. You can take a y out of both terms. 4y squared divided by 4y is y. Negative 24y divided by 4y, negative 6. Number 7, we can take a 3 out of both, and we can take a d out of both. 21 CD divided by 3D. Well, 21 divided by 3 is 7. And then CD divided by D, well, we're just left with C because the D's cancel out. Negative 3D divided by 3D, negative 1. Okay, remember you can always go back and check by distributing to make sure it's correct. Number 8, what can we take out of both 14 and 18? We can take a 2 out. And they both have an H, so we can take an H out. 14GH divided by 2H, 7G. Negative 18H divided by 2H, negative 9. Number 9, what can we take out of 15 and 30? We can take a 15 out. They each have an A, and they each have a B. 15a squared b divided by 15ab. Well, the 15's cancel, the b's cancel. A squared divided by a is a. Negative 30ab divided by 15ab. Negative 30 divided by 15 is negative 2. And then the ab's cancel. What can you take out of both 16 and 24? You can take an 8 out of both of those. We can take a b out of both. And we can take a c out of both. So 16bc squared divided by 8bc is 2c. 24bc divided by 8bc is 3. 24 divided by 8 is 3. And the bc's cancel. 11, what can we take out of both terms? We can take an a out of both. AB divided by a is b. Negative a divided by a is negative 1. 12. This one doesn't have a number, so you can't take a number out. We can take an x and a y out of both. X squared y divided by xy is x. 3xy divided by xy is 3. 13. Can't take a 5 out of both of those. And you can't take an x or a y out of both, so you can't factor that, so that's prime. 14, what can you take out of both 18 and 48? You can take a 6 out. Okay, there's an a in both, so you're going to take the one with the smallest exponent, which is a. There's a b in both. And then the c's, smallest exponent, c squared. Okay, so 18 divided by 6 is 3. A squared divided by A is A. B divided by B cancels. C squared divided by C squared cancels. Negative 48 divided by 6, negative 8. A divided by A cancels. B divided by B cancels. C cubed divided by C squared is C. Okay, 15. We can take a 2 out of each of those. We can take an X out of each of those. And we can take a Y out of each of those. 2x squared y divided by 2xy is x. Negative 2xy squared divided by 2xy is negative y. And 4xy divided by 2xy is 2. 16. What can we take out of 9, 18, and 24? We can take a 3 out of that. Okay, there's an r in each of those, and just the r is the smallest exponent. There's not an s in each of them, so we cannot take an s out because there's not an s in the first term. 9r to the 8th divided by 3r. Well, 9 divided by 3 is 3. R to the 8th divided by r is r to the 7th. Negative 18 divided by 3, negative 6. R squared divided by r is r. And then the s you just pull down. Negative 24 divided by 3, negative 8. R divided by r cancels. That s squared you just pull down. $17, what can we take out of 6, 14, and 10? We can take a 2 out of that. And then they all have y's, so the one with the smallest exponent is y squared. 6y to the 4th divided by 2y squared is 3y squared. 14y cubed divided by 2y squared, 7y. Negative 10y squared divided by 2y squared, negative 5. 18, what can we take out of 12, 36, and 6? We can take a 6 out. The a's, they all have an a, so the one with the smallest exponent is a squared. They all have a b, so b squared is the smallest one. 12 divided by 6 is 2. A to the 5th divided by a squared is a cubed. B squared divided by b squared cancels. Negative 36 divided by 6 is negative 6. A to the 4th divided by a squared is a squared. B cubed divided by b squared is b. Negative 6 divided by 6, negative 1. A squared divided by a squared cancels. B squared divided by b squared cancels. So just negative 1. What can we take out of 14, 28, and 14? We can take a 14 out. And then there's not a G in all of them, but there is an H in all of them. So 14H. 14GH squared divided by 14H. GH. 28GH divided by 14H. Well, 28 divided by 14 is 2. G, H's cancel. 14H divided by 14H is 1. What can we take out of 18, 24, and 36? We can take a 6 out of those. There is an X in all, nope, I'm sorry, there's not an X in all of them because there's not one in the last one, so we can't take that out. There's not a Y in the middle one, so we can't take that out, but there is a Z in all of them. The one with the smallest exponent is the first one, just Z. So 6Z. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Bring down the X squared Y. The Z's cancel. Negative 24 divided by 6 is negative 4. Bring down the X. Z squared divided by Z is Z. 36 divided by 6 is 6. Bring down the Y. Z cubed divided by Z is Z squared. 21. We can't take a number out of those because we have ones. We can take an M out and we can take an N out. So M cubed divided by M is M squared. n divided by n cancels. Negative m squared divided by m is negative m. N squared divided by n is n. 5m divided by m is 5. N cubed divided by n is n squared. What can we take out of 16, 28, and 8? We can take a 4 out. There's not an x in all of them, but there is a y in all of them. So we're taking out a 4y. 16xy squared divided by 4y is 4xy. 28xy divided by 4y, 7x. 8y divided by 4y, 2. What can we take out of 35, 20, and 15? We can take a 5 out, and we can take an a out of all of those. 35a squared divided by 5a is 7a. Negative 20ab squared divided by 5a, negative 4b squared. 15a divided by 5a is 3. Then the last one, what can we take out of 3, 9, and 15? We can take a 3. We can take an a out. We can take a b squared out. And we can take a c out. So 3 divided by 3 cancels. A cubed divided by a is a squared. B squared divided by b squared cancels. C's cancel. 9 divided by 3, negative 3. A squared divided by a is a. B cubed divided by b squared is b. C squared divided by c is c. 15 divided by 3 is 5. A divided by a cancels. B to the 4th divided by b squared is b squared. C cubed divided by c is c squared. Okay, so that is factoring by the greatest common factor.